this video, we're doing another example where we have to use the conjugate method to rationalize the denominator. And remember that rationalizing the denominator just means getting the square roots out of the denominator. Remember also that the conjugate of a binomial is the same two terms in the original binomial, but with the opposite sign in between. So for example, we have in our denominator here 2 times the square root of 3 minus 3 times the square root of 2. And the conjugate of that is the same two terms, but with a different sign in the middle. So instead of a subtraction sign here, we'd have an addition sign, and that would be the conjugate of the denominator. So what we want to do, regardless of the fact that we also have square roots in the numerator, is we want to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. So we'll take the same two terms from the denominator, 2 root 3, but then we'll flip the sign in the middle. So instead of a negative sign, we'll do a positive sign, 3 root 2, and then we'll divide that by the same value, 2 root 3 plus 3 root 2. And now this just becomes a multiplication problem. We're going to multiply across the numerator, and we just have to FOIL this out. So we're going to take the first term, 2 root 12, and distribute that across this second binomial. So 2 root 12 times 2 root 3 is going to give us 4 when we do 2 times 2, and then root 12 times root 3 is root 36. We can take the two values inside the square roots and multiply them together, put it under a new square root. Then we'll take 2 root 12 times 3 root 2, and we'll get plus 6 root 24. Then we'll do negative 3 root 3 times 2 root 3. We're going to get a negative 6 square root 9. And then negative 3 root 3 times 3 root 2 is going to give us a negative 9 root 6. We'll divide that by whatever we get when we FOIL out the denominator, and we'll just take again our two binomials and multiply those together. So 2 root 3 times 2 root 3 will be 4 root 9. 2 root 3 times 3 root 2 is going to be 6 root 6. And then we'll have negative 3 root 2 times 2 root 3 is going to be a negative 6 root 6, and then negative 3 root 2 times positive 3 root 2 is going to give us a negative 9 root 4. Now right away we know in the denominator this is what happens every time with conjugate method. We're going to get these middle two terms to cancel. We have a positive 6 root 6 and a negative 6 root 6. Those are going to net to 0, so those go away. Then let's go back to our numerator here. We know that the square root of 36 is 6, so we have 4 times 6, or 24. We know that the square root of 24 is the same as the square root of 6 times the square root of 4. The square root of 4 is 2. 2 times 6 on the outside here is 12, so we get plus 12 root 6. We can't simplify root 6 any further. Then we have minus 6 times root 9. We know that the square root of 9 is 3, so we get 6 times 3, which is 18, or just minus 18. Again, we can't simplify the square root of 6 at all, so we just get minus 9 root 6. And then in our denominator, we have 4 times the square root of 9, or 4 times 3, which is 12, and then 9 times the square root of 4, or 9 times 2, which is 18, so we get minus 18. When we simplify the numerator, we'll combine our whole numbers, so 24 minus 18 is going to be 6, and then 12 root 6 minus 9 root 6 leaves us with just 3 times root 6. In the denominator, we get 12 minus 18, which is going to be a negative 6. And now all we have left to do is reduce the fraction, which we can do by dividing through every term by 3. So when we divide through every term by 3, 6 divided by 3 gives us 2. 3 root 6 divided by 3 just gives us root 6, so we get plus root 6. And then negative 6 divided by 3 gives us negative 2. Now all we want to do is get rid of the negative sign in our denominator, so we'll move it to the numerator by making both terms in the numerator negative. So this is going to become negative 2 minus root 6 all over positive 2. And that's it. That's another example of how to use conjugate method to rationalize a denominator.